guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's live lesson. We're going to be talking about bluegrass guitar today. So it's going to be a fun one. I know for me, I am a novice when it comes to bluegrass, and I've just recently gotten into it, so I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
We're going to be covering mostly rhythm bluegrass guitar because that's what you have to really know to just go to a bluegrass jam and just be social with people, jump in, play some music. There's not a whole lot to it, but there are some like specific stylistic things that it's a good idea to have them down. Once you have those things down, then you're pretty good to go. You can jump in pretty much any song and learn a lot of stuff from people that already know more about bluegrass than maybe you do. So.
Yeah. So we do have a couple of downloads for you guys. We have, now I think it's the longer version of the jam track we're going to play over today.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be fun for you guys to play along to. And then it's pretty simple, I think. It's just in the key of G major, right?
It's in G major, like every good bluegrass song should be.
Okay, there you go, yeah. And then there's also a PDF there. Now, what is on the PDF?
The PDF has, hey guys. No, the PDF has 6 exercises that we're going to go through to get basic bluegrass strumming down on the first page. And then the next 3 pages are just the sheet music and the tab for this play along, which we will play for you. And if we have time at the end, I'll go through a little bit of it and explain to you exactly what's going on in each section.
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys have any questions already about bluegrass music, be sure to submit those. If you're a member, you just click on the questions tab. Enter your question, send it in to us. It doesn't have to be about bluegrass. It can be about anything you guys feel like you want to talk about. So everything's fair game.
The cool thing about bluegrass is it really works on your strumming hand and your accuracy when you're hitting single notes in the lower register, like the bass notes, with your strumming hand. So that can really bleed over into pretty much any style of music you want to apply it to. So take whatever, those skills are going to be going over here and apply them to whatever styles you're into. It doesn't have to be bluegrass. So.
And I'll mention, even for you guys who have electric guitars, you can still learn a lot from this too.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Okay, should we play the jam track?
Sure. This is only, I think it's like 2 rotations to the entire thing.
Yeah.
The regular one is like 3.
Pretty short. All right.
So that was kind of a mix between really traditional bluegrass and a little bit more progressive styles in there, because we had some power chords and bar chords in there, which aren't really typical of bluegrass music, but I put that in there just to kind of...
Just a quick question.
Get a little more power in there.
Yeah, while you're on that note, are non-diatonic chords a pretty common thing? Because we play that F there, which shouldn't really be there.
And like a lowered 7, a major flat 7, and a 5 of 5, like which in this case in key of G would be an A major.
Okay. Like
are really the only ones that I say you'd see on a semi-regular basis. That especially that 5 of 5, that A major. Even the lowered 7s isn't as common, I think, for bluegrass.
Okay.
Non-traditional bluegrass, anyway.
I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
These 6 exercises we're going to go through are going to start out super basic with your strumming and then get you to where you have all the tools that you need to show up to a bluegrass jam and be able to strum along to any song that you may encounter. And it all starts with exercise number 1, which is just getting a straight 16th note strumming pattern down. Don't even worry about a chord at the beginning. Just straight down and up. And slow it way down if you need to. And I'll give you some tips here for keeping your strumming relaxed. Because bluegrass music can get pretty fast and involved. So you want to make sure to stay relaxed, otherwise you're not going to be able to keep up with some of the tempos that these songs are at. So make sure to stay really loose and think about, I always say this, you're probably sick of hearing it, but think about like you're flicking something off your finger or something. That's a great way to start thinking about that. And you just want to get it down really well to where upstrokes are not getting hung up in the strings, because you're going to be strumming pretty fast. And take this at whatever tempo you can, but that's the first step, is getting this down. 1, 2. And now I'm going to take this opportunity, since I have this G major shape on here, to tell you, don't do this in traditional bluegrass music. You want to play this G major chord. If you can play this shape, but if you show up to a bluegrass jam and there's a bunch of traditional guys, they're going to look at you like, what are you doing?
Really?
So, yeah, play this one. This is like the modern, airy, poppy G. This is like the really traditional sounding G. So that's the one you want, unless, you just like the other one on purpose and you just want that sound, right? But my dad would look back at me at gigs and be like, okay, fine. So that's step number 1. And step number 2 is kind of the very simple, most basic form of what I would consider to be the standard bluegrass strumming pattern. And it takes that 16th note strumming pattern that you have going, that you're working on in exercise number 1, and it kind of reduces it down a little bit. It has 1/8 note with the downstroke, so 1 E. Now on the upstroke, keep your hand going on the upstroke, don't dig in. So 1 E, and then add 2 16th notes. So that is your basic bluegrass strumming pattern for 1 beat. 1 and 1 and So down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And if you look at the PDF, the sheet music, you're just hitting the bottom couple of notes. I'm not worrying too much about accuracy at this point, just hitting a couple of bass notes to get that low end in there. And then for the down, up, for the top, a couple of strings, we're just hitting like the top 4 or 5 strings. Doesn't have to be all of them. Because that's something you're going to want to get that coordination down. And I'm holding onto this pick so light that it's about to fall out of my hand. If Andrew were to flick it, it would just shoot across the room, right? That is step number 2. So you might want to work on this with no chords at first. Once you're feeling comfortable with that, it could be an hour, it could be a couple days, couple weeks, whatever. Sounds like a train, right?
It does, yeah.
So once you have that comfortable by itself and you don't have to think about the strumming too much, then put some chords with this. So G. And then work on a couple of different open chords too. Ones where you're not using all of the strings, maybe. Like the C chord, you're not going to be using the low E string, so you might want to mute it with your thumb, or just work on your aim to make sure you don't hit the low E string. I have both. I have it muted with my thumb, and then I'm trying not to hit it with my strum. Do the same thing with, since we're in the key of G for this lesson, let's do it with a D chord as well. But that's step 2 to get what is like traditional bluegrass strumming done. And maybe try an E minor too, because that's a really common chord in the key of G for bluegrass. Still super relaxed. So once you have step number 2 down, and you're feeling comfortable with that, we need to get a little more accurate, and this is where the single bass notes come in for bluegrass that are really common on bluegrass rhythm guitar. So instead of just kind of hitting the bottom few strings, example number 3, it's a lot more specific, and we're just going to hit the low E string with our first downstroke. Then we have a down up. And this is kind of like I said, it's a new level of accuracy that you need to develop. So what you're probably going to want to do is just mute the strings and actually look back at your strings and make sure you're hitting just that low E for every single downstroke, for the initial downstroke of every, down, up. And it may take you some time to develop that, but when you look back, it makes it a lot easier to hit it. And if you're more accurate when you're practicing and getting things right and not messing up a lot, it's going to program it in your brain right, and you're going to start to memorize. Your body's going to start to memorize exactly where that low E string is on your guitar. Like I'm looking at the camera right now to see this. And I'm hitting it every time, right? So that's really slow, methodical practice, looking back. Then once you're feeling comfortable, put a chord on. And go through those same 4 chords. C. For the C chord, you want to hit just the 5th string. You want to leave the low E string out completely. Again, if you need to look back to program where that 5th string is in your brain, that's exactly how you do this kind of practice. And it doesn't take a ton of this type of practice every day. It doesn't take like an hour, but if you're consistent with 5 to 10 minutes a day, you're going to notice that your accuracy is going to start to improve. And there are really only 3 variations of this: hitting it with just a low E, hitting it with the A, or hitting the D string for the D chord, right? So you're programming in the location of those 3 strings with a strumming pattern. So that's step number 3.
Nice.
Step number 4 takes, again, your accuracy to the next level, but if you practice step number 3 and really program in the locations of the E, A, and D strings, then it's going to be easier for you to get to step number 4, because what we're going to do here is alternate bass notes between your bass strings for every other strumming pattern. So start with your low E string on a G, strum, and then you're going to play the A string. Again, if you need to just mute the strings, look back, do some really concerted practice, that's the way to go about this. And it's the same thing for your C chord. You can play your 5th string to start off, and then your D string, alternate to the D. And just alternate between the 4th and 5th strings for your bass note. For the D string, and I know we're going fast here, but this is something, if you're into bluegrass, you're going to want to work on this one sheet for several weeks or several months until you have this down really well. For the D chord, it's a little bit different. I play the open D string, and then I go to the A string instead of the G, just to keep it a little more bassy. So those 3 chords and those combination of bass notes with strumming are really important to get down. Now the E minor works out to be the exact same as the G chord. Low E string, strum, A string, strum. And you can see how this kind of developing your accuracy with your picking hand as far as which bass notes you hit, it can bleed over to any style of music that you want to, especially folk, country, even some rock stuff. This is a really good skill to have just in general. So.
Yeah.
I need some water.
Okay, go for it. Yeah, this is great. I'm so new to bluegrass, and I really...
I don't want to say it's rigid, but there's definitely a traditional way to play it.
It seems like it, and it's surprising. And I know, like, out here where we live, it doesn't even seem... I was never introduced to it. It's more what it was. It's a cool genre.
If you haven't checked out Ricky Skaggs, it's just like mind blown.
Is he a mandolin player?
Modern. He's mandolin and guitar.
Yeah.
So he's just insane, man. They're one of my favorite bluegrass groups. So.
Oh, cool.
Where are we? Let's see. Now that you have this down, the rest of this examples 5 and 6 are just kind of dressing up that strumming that we just did. And I just did it. I kind of gave you a preview there. So you're going to do the same exact strumming pattern on your G chord, low E string, strum, A string, strum. But when you play the A string, lift your finger up and hit that open, and then hammer onto it. And it may take a while to get that coordination down, but just work on that one part. Make sure you come down hard enough with that hammer-on so that second note rings out just as loud as the first one, or as close as you can get it. And some bluegrass songs are just ripping fast, so you can... It's really important to work on getting your accuracy down in the last, the preceding 4 examples, so when you get to this type of thing, it's really easy for you to play these types of strumming patterns at any tempo. But that's like the dressed up standard bluegrass strumming pattern. Again, you can do that with your C chord. This time you hit the low A string first and then strum. And then you hit your D string open and hammer on with that second finger right there on the second fret of the D string. It's just a game of being accurate and staying relaxed. You can do the same thing with your E minor. So low E, strum, and then open A, hammer on, strum. I mean, that doesn't even sound like bluegrass to me. That sounds like some kind of pop or folk song.
It sounds folky. I agree. But in context, when you're playing it with the major chords, it does work.
Yep. So that's if you go to a bluegrass jam, you're going to hear these things all the time, depending on whoever the guitar player in the circle or band's skill level is. It's going to be something similar to this, I would bet you money. Of course, there's variations and things like that, but these are kind of the foundational building blocks. And if you have all of those strumming patterns down, you could get by with anything, as long as you get there, learn the song, have all of your open chords down, I would say, and bring a capo with you for sure for bluegrass. Because bluegrass loves to play with open chords, keys like G major, C major, A, even D. And then people generally use a capo to make those shapes work no matter what key the singer wants to play in. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
The last thing that I want to show you as far as bluegrass rhythm guitar goes is the standard bluegrass fill. And this is a really quick synopsis. These 6 things are a really quick synopsis of what is contained in Bluegrass 1 and part of Bluegrass 2, the full-length series at the GuitarLessons.com Academy. So if you've already gone through those, that's cool. This is just kind of a reiteration for you. Or if you haven't even gotten to bluegrass yet and you're like, oh, I don't want to go through a whole series, maybe this little live lesson would be a good primer for you to actually go check that out and learn the jam tracks and play-alongs there.
Yeah.
So the standard bluegrass fill comes at the end of most phrases, like at the end of a chorus especially, or even at the end of a verse going into a chorus. And I'll play it for you, and then I'll put it in context for you and show you what's going on. It's very similar to the dressed up strumming pattern that we did there. It's just this. I'll do it again slowly. It's a lot of pull-offs going on. It's all with my middle finger. So I have a G chord going on. That's the 1 chord, and almost all the time when you hear this lick, it's going to be on the 1 chord. Not always, but it could be on the 4 chord. But basically, I'm playing the low E string, root note, G, with my 3rd finger there. Then I hit the open A string and hammer on, just like the dressed up pattern that we did. So now go to the next string and hit that open, hammer on, and pull off. So far. And then to finish, you just hit the open G string. Probably the hardest part of this one for me, learning this, is this pull off. Because if you pull off, it's really easy to make the other notes ring out above it, right? But I have come to mute this high G string until I need to play it by doing this, watch. once I hit that initial downstroke on the D string, my pick comes and rests on the G string and mutes it. And then I push that pick through the G string to finish it. So if you're strumming along on a G major chord, that's the standard fill at the end of a phrase that brings you back around to the next part of the song. And you will use that all the time. You can do it with a C, like I said, same idea.
Nice.
Yep.
Can you show us that lick playing fast?
Oh yeah.
Like how you would? That sounds nice. I like it.
The cool thing about bluegrass is you don't have to have a lot of tools in your rhythm guitar bag, but they do need to be accurate, and you just stay relaxed so you can keep up with the tempos that you may have to be facing to play a lot of bluegrass songs. But the cool thing about it is you go to a bluegrass jam and you get like 3 hours of practice in one night and you get a lot better. You learn a lot of new songs.
Now, I just have a question. What is a bluegrass jam? I'm not completely familiar.
Well, the ones I'm familiar with, I grew up in Houston, and Houston Bluegrass Association, I think is the name of it. It's once a month, I believe, and it's people from all over from Houston got together, and there was the beginner room, the like intermediate room, the advanced room, and then like even within those rooms, like the outer circles would be like, okay, I'm a brand new. Then the inside, closer to the middle, would be people that are like, okay, I've been doing this for a little while, I'm starting to learn some stuff. And the inside would be like the good beginners, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in each room. And then they would have performances of bluegrass, like legit professional bluegrass bands throughout the night in the hall. And you just go there and learn songs. If you didn't know anything, you're like, hey, how did you do that? And people would show you.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Like we were sitting here warming up for the song while going, Matt's like, oh, I gotta go grab a guitar. I want to play with
It's true.
these songs.
Yeah.
It's a very social type of music that's really fun and easy to just jump into, even if you only know a few chords. So.
Yeah. Well, like even the thing that I just played 10 minutes before the lesson, I wasn't going to play along with you, and I was just like, just figure it out quick, and I just strummed along. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, was that it for the teaching?
That's it for the teaching part.
Okay.
Depends how questions go. If people want to hear, go through the A, B, and C sections of the play along, it's fine. But if we have questions, we'll get to those.
Okay, we got a few questions already. Cool. So, just a reminder, if you guys have any questions, questions tab below the video player. Feel free. Everything's fair game. People are laughing over there.
Mad.
Whatever.
Video ninja.
But without further ado, I think we should probably just jump right into questions. Actually, there's one thing we've talked about before, and I wanted to just ask it as a question. People have all different types of guitars. People pick different guitars. Is there like a bluegrass guitar, and can you get away with other guitars? Are you going to go to a bluegrass circle, like you said, with your weird G, and people are going to make fun of you?
Not in my experience. Like I think that they're thinking it. They're like, go get a Martin, for goodness sakes. And like they don't. I mean, that's kind of an unwritten rule that you have to have a Martin, or even now Collings.
Yeah.
But people don't care. People at the bluegrass jams I've been to are the nicest people in the world, and they'll show you, whatever you like. Then a lot of people are like, if they give you a pointer, it's like, this just G is like the traditional Big Mountain. Try that.
Yeah.
So it's more that kind of vibe. But I've never experienced anybody like looking down on people for what they're playing.
What about like body style?
Dreadnought.
Does it have to be a dreadnought?
Traditionally, it will be, but I mean, I don't have a dreadnought.
I do,
but this guitar is louder than my dreadnought, which is
a little bit weird.
Yeah. So
I
just like this. If I had unlimited resources, I would definitely own something like that as well.
Right.
So
I just lucked out. I don't have unlimited
I play
resources.
a lot of fingerstyle too, and this is way better for fingerstyle stuff. It's better. I think it's better personally for what I like, for like really strummy, poppy.
It seems good
stuff.
all around. It kind of hits every note.
It doesn't have a lot of times. The reason you need a dreadnought is because it's louder generally, and banjos are really loud, and stand-up basses can be really boomy, so guitar can get drowned out. Especially a guitar like this or a smaller body guitar, you need something big and boomy to cut through.
Yeah.
Get some volume out of.
That's something, just to continue on that topic. In the band that I played with, when you play an acoustic set, you play with other acoustic players, you have the one guy strumming, and you're trying to play some lead ditty on top, and you aren't even there.
Yeah.
Right? And I had that issue with I have a smaller body Martin. I would get that issue all the time. Cool. Thanks for clarifying, because I don't always know either. Okay, first question. From Jonathan87, will you be covering bluegrass lead, or is there not much lead guitar in bluegrass?
There can be a lot of lead guitar in bluegrass, and yes, we will be covering. I think I have at least 3 lead guitar bluegrass series planned. I still have at least one more. I think I have one more bluegrass rhythm guitar series to make, and then down the road we'll do lead too. But yes, 100%. Well, it covers a lot of open scales, both major and pentatonic, and then it's going to cover a lot of arpeggios ideas too, and just applying those to songs.
What were you playing in that jam track?
A lot of pentatonic stuff.
Okay.
A lot of major scales, outlining the triads of whatever chord happen to be playing.
Yeah.
That stuff, like that's another kind of not an unwritten rule, but it's very common and it's an unwritten rule. You need to play as many open strings as possible in bluegrass.
Right.
If that's just traditional, that's what is expected.
Yeah.
Generally, so it'll cover a lot of stuff like that. It won't be going above 7.
Right.
Generally, the only time it goes above 7 is if you have to reach up here and grab something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. And then when they do go, that would make sense with the capos, right? Because the open strings are so important. Okay.
But, if you go to bluegrass jams, it's more rare to find a guitarist that goes to bluegrass jams that's really good at flat picking leads. Just because if they're that good at that, they're generally out there working. That's not always the case. So if you find somebody at a bluegrass jam that's really good at flat picking leads, stick with them and learn everything they know. Mm-hmm. And most of the time they'll be glad to show it to you.
Next question from G Beans. What are some bluegrass songs you recommend for inspiration and motivation for this style?
It depends if you're more traditional or if you like more modern sounding. To me, well, I don't know. How about artists? That might be a better way to go.
I think that's better.
Bill Monroe, Flat and Scruggs for a more traditional take on bluegrass. So that's Flat and Scruggs, and then Bill Monroe. For a more modern take on things, people that are actually still around, alive and playing, Nashville Bluegrass Band, Ricky Skaggs. Mm-hmm. I'll think of the other one. The other one that my dad's a real big fan of is Escaping Me Right Now, but I'll think of it. Blue Moon of Kentucky is a great song just to get into and jump into. That's Bill Monroe, I believe. And then
okay.
It sounds cliche, but dueling banjos is always cool. You can find so many good versions of that out there.
Yeah, that's cool. I had someone recommended to me today. Was it Brian Sutton? I think was his name. Might have been Mayberry. I think it was Mayberry recommended him to me. Anyways, I listened to some of his, I think that's what it was. I listened to some of his stuff. It's really good.
Yeah, if you have any recommendations for bluegrass, just start a forum thread, and then everybody will just add what they like in there. That'd be good.
Yeah, it was pretty inspiring. It's very cool. Next question here from Mike Wright. Bluegrass seems much faster of a style overall. Any tips for improving my chord change speed?
It can be faster overall. It depends what you like, and it depends what circles you hang around, I guess.
Okay.
For improving your chord changing speed, practice often. And one thing, if I'm not playing a lot of acoustic on a regular basis, one thing that I have trouble with is going from any open chord to a D. Just because it's such a scrunched up chord that I really don't play much. If I'm playing electric, I play like this, right?
Oh, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's funny that you do that.
In bluegrass, a lot of times, not always, you want that third on top.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit fuller sound. But when I'm having that problem, I'll go from a C to a D just over and over again.
Okay.
And really concentrate on that one change for several days. Take 10, 15 minutes several times a day. And then if you're having trouble with another change, like from G to D, just isolate that change, and that's the best thing. And do it often, and cycle through them. For 2 days do C to D, next 2 days do G to C, and then when you go back to the C to D, hopefully you'll hear or feel like, hey, I'm remembering this a little bit better. But being really consistent with your practice, even if it's only for 5-10 minutes a day, and really purposeful with it is probably the best thing you can do for changes.
That's cool. Okay, next one. From Edgar21. Do you have any other exercises or drills for improving string picking accuracy? That's a fair point.
Yeah, there's so much I could spin forever. One thing that I found that helps me is keeping my pinky touching something. So if I'm playing a high E string, my pinky's touching the top of the guitar. If I'm playing the low E string, my pinky is touching one of the strings, just so I have some kind of reference for where I'm picking, right? So I know I can go right to that next string, I can feel it with something besides just floating my hand in the air, right? And you may want to do that with your wrist. It's a little less common in bluegrass. Or like your thumb right here. But literally taking time on each string, doesn't have to be long, 5 minutes a day. Being very accurate and purposeful. And trying to get a little bit of rotation in there like this, kind of like you're turning some keys instead of just using your elbow. Being very accurate like that. But just take some time every day. Okay, let's say that was 2 minutes on that string. 2 minutes on that string. Literally single string picking exercises. If you can't do that, there's no way you're going to be able to play through a scale. You know, playing on one string is a lot simpler, there's a lot less going on than actually picking and changing between strings, right? So that's step number 1. Step number 2, start trying to do just one string, maybe 3 notes on one string, like an open G major scale for this style of music. Then add next string in there. Hard part here is changing strings. So if you have down, up, down, you have to kick that pick out, kind of, and then come down. Up on the next string. And you get this kind of rolling motion like that, so you don't get stuck in between the strings necessarily. And a lot of flat pickers do that. I mean, this one, like, every note is on a different string there. So there's a lot of kind of rolling of the wrist to get over the strings. So those are just a couple of tips for this type of accuracy.
Yeah. I also know there's a great guy on YouTube who does a lot of stuff with just picking, Troy Grady.
Troy Grady, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is just regurgitating what he says.
Yeah, he does a bunch of cool stuff on picking, so he's worth checking out on YouTube.
Check out Andy Wood too.
Andy Wood is awesome. They do stuff together, actually. Just recently they did some stuff together, so it's very cool. Okay, next question here. This one's from Matt.
It's always something.
Now, you can answer this one or you can not answer this one, Nate. It's up to you. Matt wants to know, Nate, what kind of pop are you drinking? It's a colorful can.
I call it yellow dog.
A yellow dog.
That's what it is.
What kind of flavor is it?
Hops.
It's hoppy flavor. The more you know. That's funny, Matt. Okay, next question. This is from Marion B. When playing alternating bass with a C major chord, is it permissible to alternate the C on the 5th string with a G on the 6th string by simply moving your 3rd finger over to the 6th string for that one note? It just sounds better to me than alternating the C with an E on the 4th string.
Yeah, the 3rd can be a little weak sounding. It depends on the song, I would say. That gets really country sounding to me, and you could be like, well, aren't bluegrass and country the same? No. I mean, they're both twangy as far as the singing usually, but yeah, that's acceptable, 100%. Just do whatever sounds good for the song. If you think this sounds better, do that. If you think that sounds better, do that.
I was just gonna say, that's my favorite C chord ever, is putting a G in the bass, and I do it.
Usually,
I can't see my hand.
Usually I don't like open chords with the notes other than the root and the bass, but I really like that chord.
Yeah, I think it sounds really cool. I use that one all the time. That doesn't sound like bluegrass.
No, it's not. That would get me kicked out.
You'd be kicked out. All right. Follow-up question from G Beans. This is awesome. Can we please hear some more bluegrass playing from Nate?
I don't know what else to play. I don't have anything else worked up. Let's see. You want to just jam? GCD?
Oh, GCD. Yeah, do that first.
It's kind of tough when you don't. Oh, I do have a resource for you guys. If I don't have a specific song, because guitar solos for bluegrass can be very melody based upon whatever song you're playing. But you might have to help me look this up. Okay. It's a resource that I emailed him and asked him if it was okay for our members to use whatever resource and for me to use the songs that he recorded in the series that we've been doing. And it's type in free bluegrass backing tracks. And I think it's FBBT.com or something like that.
FBBTS?
Yes, that is it. Go to free bluegrass backing tracks, FBBTS.com. And this guy has tons and tons of bluegrass and folk standards, all like fully recorded, full instrumentation. It's not MIDI, it's actual instruments. They sound good in multiple keys, and you can get ones with the guitar left out, I believe. Get ones with banjo left out.
Cool.
So you can play it whatever you want to. And that's actually where I've been getting the songs that we've been doing in the series in the members area. So.
Nice.
Except for that last one. That last one was from Guitar System. My dad played banjo and mandolin on that one ages ago.
Oh, so. Nice. We don't have a ton more questions, so I don't know. We can answer a few more, and then maybe we can talk about some other stuff after, or we'll just kind of see what comes in. If you guys have more questions, feel free to send them in. Anyways, I'll continue. This is from Jonathan87, a follow-up question. What type of pick would you suggest?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, do you really want to know?
I don't have my pick tin in here, but I have a $35 option for you, and I have a $3 option for you.
Yeah.
Both Andrew and I use blue chip picks because we're pick snobs.
Yeah.
But they do sound good, and they feel really good too.
They do.
But I like the feel of the Dunlop prime tones.
They are close to this.
Better than these, but I like the sound of these better.
Yeah.
So if I generally, like 90% of the time I use Dunlop prime tones, the ones that are shaped like triangles, like just like that, the smaller triangle ones.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend. They sound great. They last a really long time, and they come in like packs of 2 or 3.
And they're a little bit more expensive, but not anywhere near the
I think they're worth it. Like just for the fact that they don't wear out after 1 hour of playing, shredding your pick on bluegrass guitar is totally worth it, or whatever style you're doing. Yeah.
And I would just say when it comes to picks, as I talked about like back in the gear lesson, picks matter a whole lot. But if you're not like recording or performing, don't worry too much about it. Like, or if you really care about that 1 or 2% better sound, you start getting to a point where once you spend so much money, there's huge leaps it sounds maybe 1-2% better. But they do sound amazing.
If I'm recording, I will use this pick. Or live, whatever. If I'm playing just a gig or something, I'll use Dunlop prime tones.
Yeah, so there you go. And I don't use blue chips for all my playing. For electric playing, I use chicken picks.
I use gravity picks, and they're like $5 or $6.
Yeah. Chicken picks are around the same, not expensive. So acoustic, obviously, picks matter a whole lot more. Okay, next question. Another follow-up from Edgar21. A little off topic, but what new music have you guys been listening to lately? It doesn't have to be bluegrass, just looking for some new music to check out.
I think. I just bought Marshall Harrison's new album. I can't remember the name of it, but Marshall Harrison. And it's all like psychotically difficult classical pieces arranged for electric guitar with a pick. And it's like a lot of Paganini stuff on clean electric guitar. It is just insane.
Interesting.
It's crazy. It's the most off the charts technical stuff I've ever heard on guitar with a pick ever. But it's it can be pretty inaccessible for
now.
Most
Was that
people.
Stuff you shared on Facebook a little while ago?
I think so.
I think you did. I remember that. Anything else you've been listening to?
New stuff. I'm having a hard time thinking of anything new now. If you want to go ahead and
So the new. I brought up my Spotify here. For those of you guys that use Spotify, just so I can remember the stuff I've been listening to. The new Brad Paisley album, which is, if you guys are country fans, even if you're not and you can stomach country, because there's some people that really don't like it, Brad Paisley is an incredible guitar player.
there's a lot to learn from it, man.
Oh, yeah. I just love because he plays super clean, so he doesn't hide behind distortion, and he plays so many notes, and they just have to be executed perfectly. It's really cool. I don't personally play the style, but I really appreciate it. Another band is a band called the Marcus King Band. I've been listening to a lot. They put out an album 2016, and the guy's like 20 or 21 years old, so he's younger than me, and incredible. He kind of has like a Dwayne Allman incarnate kind of thing going on. A little bit less like with the slide stuff. He does a little bit of slide stuff, but not so much. It's really cool stuff. So the Marcus King Band is really worth checking out. And then I've been listening to a lot of the new John Mayer album.
Sweet.
Which none of that stuff is really guitar music other than the Marcus King stuff. I guess it kind of all is, but it's kind of more songwriter focused, I would say.
Cool.
Do you have any other stuff?
I haven't updated my phone forever. So no. If I think of anything throughout the rest of the lesson, we'll mention
Post it in the forums or something like that. I love, especially if you guys have recommendation stuff to listen to. I know there's a few posts in the forums that are kind of doing that, but recommend stuff. I love hearing new stuff. It's always great in every genre, except maybe a few genres.
Except for maybe a few.
Yeah, but if there's a guitar in it, then usually I appreciate it.
What genres?
What was that, Matt?
What genres?
Stuff without guitar in it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of rap. I don't know. It's just not my thing, you know?
I've been getting into, what is it, Amigos?
Oh, that's rap. That's like rap.
I know. I've never really had
Raindrop,
before,
drop top. Yeah. I listen to a lot of top 40 because I think it's really important for your playing and phrasing. But I wouldn't say that I really appreciate the music. I would say that I'm just trying to like glean some melody knowledge more than anything. Okay. Just talk about random stuff forever. Okay, on to the next question. This is from Tom's Vet. How many BPM was that?
Was what?
I'm not 100% sure.
If he's talking about the play along, hold on, I can get a ballpark.
Yeah. What we just played was basically the same thing, right?
About 120.
There you go, about 120. So it's pretty quick, and that I wouldn't even consider that to be a fast song.
No, like that's fast for bluegrass to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a fast genre. Yeah. It to me, and I was gonna say this earlier, and again, this is someone who just doesn't really know a lot about bluegrass. It seems to me like it is the acoustic guitar strumming player who's taken it to the nth degree, like in a way where you see like guys who are just shredding and soloing like up the neck with tons of distortion. Mm-hmm. This is the equivalent skill, but
on
done
an acoustic.
Yeah, on an acoustic and done like in a certain different way.
Perfectly, usually.
Yeah, so I think like there's a certain amount of appreciation there too, and you could probably spend a lifetime just playing bluegrass guitar if that was your thing, right? Yep. And never ever reaching the pinnacle, as with other genres. Next one here. Oh, Rick was doing, this is a question from Rick, but I guess it's from Richie's here, but it looks like his question did come through. I'm guessing it didn't come through before.
Okay.
What thickness do you prefer on the prime tone and gravity picks?
I found that I like a 1.5.
Wow, really? Yep. That's pretty thick for acoustic.
It's pretty thick, yeah. But I had to work up to it. Like I was using 1 millimeter for the longest time, and then I would get thicker picks. And then when I had to do some more involved strumming like that or faster strumming, I found that it was just getting caught in it. Yep. So I really had to loosen my grip so I could, actually get thick pick through the strings. But 1.5 is, I use anything from 0.73 to 1.5, but for those picks, 1.5.
Okay, yeah. For these, I use 40, I think is a 1.0. And for electric guitar, I use, not that you asked, but I'll tell you anyway, 2.5, which is crazy thick, but Chicken Picks are a weird company, the way they design their picks.
Yeah,
exactly. So It's totally different. It took some getting used to, but I really liked them. Good question.
Martin
All right.
Miller. I've been listening to a lot of him lately. He's instrumental guitar stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, we were talking about him earlier. It looks like, okay, this is gonna be the last question, unless people are quoting Migos in chat.
Dab and Ranch.
The Bad and Bougie. What the heck? Okay. Apparently, Jonathan says I'm too white, which is true.
It's the camera settings. It's my fault.
Okay, it's Matt's fault.
Matt did
I'm
not set
sorry.
the exposure on the camera.
I don't get out in the sun enough, guys.
I don't either, so. It is nice out today, though. So.
Yeah, and it's nice that you look so tan next to me.
That's scary.
But thanks for that wonderful compliment, Jonathan. Okay, unless a question comes in while we're talking about this, because I always say this is the last question, and then one more comes in, and then I have to say this is the last question, and it never ends. This is the last question. So this is from Garretus. Do you have a place to recommend to get Guitar Pro Jam or backing tracks?
Yes. What is the name of that site? Something Songster.
Songster.
Yeah, could you type in Songster
Sure.
in the new tab? Songsterr, I think.
Yep.
Something like that. I find that they have a lot of specifically guitar profiles.
Let's. I'll throw that in here.
Yeah. YouTube, believe it or not, like I did a cover of a Dream Theater solo a few weeks ago, and I literally went and downloaded a jam backing track off of YouTube and used that. So you never know what you're gonna find on YouTube. Sometimes you can find good stuff depending on what you're looking for, but Songster, I've had pretty good luck with it.
Okay, cool. I'd never heard of it before, but that's very cool. So, okay, I have one more question.
It's kind of like the next generation of Ultimate Guitar tabs. So isn't that
Ultimate Guitar,
Ultimate Guitar,
the tab site?
Yeah. It's kind
Okay.
of like the next generation of that.
And that Songster, I posted a link in the chat for you guys, so you guys want to check that out. Okay, the last question. And I don't think it's a question. I think this is a recommendation. This is from Les Acadians. Hi, for style, check out Cayuchi. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay.
That's the way I would say it, though.
Cayouche on YouTube. He's something else. So that's a recommendation for an artist to check out, guys. I'm assuming he is a bluegrass player. I would assume.
I would think so.
I don't know. And then he said, nice lesson as usual. Thanks, Vincent. So I'm glad you came out. Okay, I think today that is going to be it, because I'm just continuing to get roasted in the in the chat. So I'm gonna end it so that put myself out of my misery. Okay, is there anything else you wanted to talk about bluegrass? Anything else?
I don't think so. Hopefully next time we do something bluegrass oriented, we'll do more like open scales and melodies and arpeggio type things.
Right. Now, I will reiterate for those of you guys who are members, a lot of what you went over was Bluegrass 1 and Bluegrass 2.
Yep.
Right? So if you guys want to go through those series and kind of get a more fleshed out version of what Nate was talking about.
There are different songs for the jam tracks at the end of each series in there too. So.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. So, and then I'm assuming when we get to it, Bluegrass 3 will be, is it going to continue to be rhythm stuff, or do you go more into lead? Or
I
what
think
do you
there's, I can't remember, there's either one rhythm or no more rhythms left, and then, there's going to be at least 3, I think, leads.
Okay, cool.
But like the best resource for bluegrass jam tracks is that one FBB.
Is that site that you're talking about for those
TS.com.
people that really want to get into it? Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I emailed the guy, I was like, dude, you put a lot of time and effort and these sound really good. So.
Does he like make them all himself?
He makes them all himself. Yeah.
That is so cool. That's pretty crazy for a free resource.
I know.
That's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming out. Thank you guys for all the questions as usual. And we will see you guys. Oh, one more thing that I forgot. Next week, what are we talking about? I normally always talk about what we're talking about next time. Ear training. So that's going to be a different one. Ear training 101.
If you have any specific questions on it that you want answered, you can always submit them early or in the forums. I'll be posting, the weekly thread for the live lesson.
For those of you guys that are trying to figure out songs on your own, or those of you guys that are trying to get into improvising, things like that, there's a million topics that your training is important for. So that'll be a really good one.
I'm thinking of sharing my daily routine when I was in music school. And kind of recreating that and giving it to you guys. So
yeah, I think that would be awesome. That'd be really cool. Okay, guys, we will see you guys next week. Take care.